When Officer Ryan Carter didn't come home that night, his wife knew something was wrong. But what no one could have guessed was that the only clue to finding him lay hidden deep in the instincts of his loyal canine partner, Shadow, a German Shepherd whose loyalty would soon leave an entire police precinct questioning what they thought they knew about duty, courage, and the unbreakable bond between a handler and his dog. It was just past midnight when the call came in, a missing persons report, but not just any person. Officer Carter was one of their own, a respected, kind-hearted man, father of 2 young boys, a husband who always texted goodnight if he was running late. But tonight, there was nothing. His patrol car was missing, his radio silent. The last anyone heard from him was a brief dispatch message about pulling over to assist a stranded motorist on a rural road. After that, nothing but static. The moment the precinct realized Ryan hadn't clocked back in, dread settled like fog in the hearts of every officer on duty. But no one took it harder than Shadow. Shadow had been with Ryan for 5 years. He was more than a partner, he was family. When the squad gathered at the station to plan the search, Shadow sat by Ryan's locker, pouring at the door, whining low and restless. He refused food, ignored everyone's attempts to coax him away. Sergeant Morales, a hardened veteran who didn't believe in dog stories, watched the German Shepherd for a long moment before finally kneeling beside him. He looked into Shadow's eyes and saw something that made him believe, truly believe, that this dog knew exactly where his partner was. "All right, boy," Morales murmured. "Show us." With Ryan's scent still fresh on his harness, Shadow was unleashed into the cold night. What happened next was something none of the officers would ever forget. Shadow ran straight out of the precinct lot, nose to the ground, pulling so hard on the lead that Officer Daniels, who had volunteered to handle him, nearly lost his footing. The other officers piled into their squad cars, headlights cutting through the darkness as they followed the single beam of hope, Shadow. For miles, the convoy wound through the outskirts of town, past shuttered gas stations and sleepy farms. Shadow led them onto a gravel road that twisted into thick woods. There, the search team found Ryan's patrol car, half hidden under branches as if someone had tried to conceal it. The driver's door was open, the radio crackling faintly. But there was no sign of Ryan. Shadow circled the car once, twice, then bolted into the woods. Daniels struggled to keep up, branches slashing his arms and face. The other officers fanned out with flashlights, calling Ryan's name into the night. Somewhere deep among the pines, Shadow stopped. He barked, loud, desperate, urgent. Then he began digging frantically at the earth near an old fallen log. Daniels dropped to his knees, pushing aside leaves and mud until he saw it, a foot. It was Ryan. He was alive, barely conscious, a shallow wound on his head and his hands bound behind his back. He'd been ambushed, struck from behind by the same motorist he'd stopped to help, a man with a stolen car, a wanted felon. Ryan had been dragged into the woods, hidden under brush and left to die in the cold. When Ryan's eyes fluttered open, the first thing he saw was Shadow's wet nose nudging his cheek. He managed a weak smile, whispering hoarsely, "Good boy, you found me." Back at the precinct, when the ambulance pulled in with Ryan inside and Shadow lying protectively beside him on the stretcher, you could have heard a pin drop. Seasoned detectives wept openly. The toughest sergeant covered his mouth to hide a sob. Shadow had not just found his partner, he'd saved his life when every hour counted. Recovery for Ryan wasn't easy. He spent weeks in the hospital, fighting off an infection and battling nightmares of that night in the woods. But Shadow was there every day, curling up beside his bed, placing his head gently on Ryan's chest whenever the nightmares came. Word of Shadow's heroics spread far beyond their small town. News crews came, people sent letters and toys for Shadow. But none of that mattered to the dog, he only wanted his partner back on his feet. Months later, when Ryan finally returned to the precinct for the first time, Shadow walked beside him, tail wagging proudly as every officer in the building stood and clapped. Ryan raised Shadow's paw and whispered to his team, "He's not just a dog. He's my guardian angel." Ryan's first shift back on patrol wasn't behind the wheel of a squad car. It was on foot, walking the neighborhood with Shadow trotting faithfully at his side. Kids ran up to pet him, neighbors waved, and for the first time since that dark night, Ryan felt like himself again. The precinct changed that day. The bond between handler and K9 wasn't just respected, it was honored. They built Shadow his own special kennel at the station, stocked with the softest blankets and favorite toys. On Ryan's locker, there was a new nameplate, Ofgar, Carter, and Shadow. They were a team, inseparable. In the months that followed, Shadow went on to assist in more rescues, more arrests. But for the entire precinct, his greatest service wasn't measured by arrests or citations. It was the reminder that sometimes, loyalty and love can do what radio calls and standard procedures cannot. So if you ever doubt the power of loyalty, remember this story. Remember Shadow. And remember that sometimes, heroes don't wear badges, they wear fur. If this story moved you, please share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear how Shadow's courage inspired you. And if you believe in the bond between humans and their K9 partners, don't forget to subscribe to Justice on Pause for more true stories of loyalty, courage, and second chances. Until next time, stay safe, stay kind, and never underestimate the heart of a dog.